Good morning, Melanie.
Good morning, Miss Melissa.
How are you?
You know what? I'm so good. I'm
So glad
so
to
good.
be here with you.
Right, me too. Honey bunches of oats.
I know it's
Let's get
really
this.
good. And we're like right smack dab in the middle of this Tiny Bits of Love series, and it's been so beautiful having these conversations. I actually started it with my mom, of all the things, and then have just connected with all these really incredible people talking about love and holding space, and it's just been really beautiful. So I'm so grateful that you're here to be part of this magic. And also, I'm just gonna say that ceiling and chandelier is totally doing it for me. It's so good.
I told you how that came about. Did I tell you how that came about?
No.
I just hired this woman who lives in the community, and I said, just make my office pretty. That's all I said. And I came back, I'm like, dang, where'd you get those colors for? I might have not said dang, it might have been a 4-letter word.
Sure.
But I said, where'd you get those colors from? And she picks up 2 pairs of my shoes.
Shut the front door. That's amazing.
And I'm like, oh yeah.
Love that. Also, I love that I think we have Wonder Twin bracelets. Come on. Interview over. We can go now. It's amazing. Okay. Melanie, would you please introduce yourself to my audience and tell people who you are, what you do, and where you're from?
I am Melanie Dewberry, and I am, right now I'm from Half Moon Bay. I live on the coast of San Francisco. And I am an Indigenous Ceremonialist. So what that means is my elders have initiated me into doing ceremonies for non-Indigenous people to bring them closer to the elemental world, the earth mostly, and all its elements. So I do ceremonies for people on the verge of becoming.
That's really incredible. I have a really good friend named Gail Woodside who lives here with me in Oregon. Mm-hmm. And she was teaching us. I did a Lenten series for the Episcopal Church here about racial justice and white supremacy and truth and reconciliation. And Gail was one of our speakers talking about the doctrine of discovery. And one of the things that Gail said that was so profound for everybody who was there is Gail said, we all come from somewhere and we are all indigenous to some place.
Okay. In my TED talk, I said, everybody is indigenous. You are in, everybody has.
Because we are all from a place.
We are.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to remember.
Yes. And I was just talking to actually our bishop of our diocese yesterday about some of this racial justice, truth and reconciliation work we're doing here in Oregon. And we were talking about how when we embodied acknowledgement of truth and reconciliation and embodying place and really thinking about where we come from and who we are in our souls and in our lives. And I just love that is part of the conversation, the reminder that you bring to people that we are all from somewhere.
I think there's the beauty of that I hear, Melissa, is, when we can step into that knowing, the walls of division are going to crumble. And there will be no more conversations of, patriot. What does that mean? It's like trying to one up on Americanism. Uh-huh. There's a sense of it'll be a deeper rooting that's not taking place in ego. Do you understand what I don't know? I'm not saying it right, but.
Oh no, you're saying it right, because I talk about groundedness and rooting all the time. It's about connection to the earth and where we are in it and on it and as a part of it, right? It's that natural returning to the state of our natural being.
Our natural being.
Which is part of nature. We're not separate from it because we are a piece of it. That's who we are as people.
And I love that about the Indigenous Path, how really, if we're attuned, nature will tell us everything about ourselves and everything about how we're supposed to show up.
Yeah, I just think that is one of the most profound awarenesses that I've been making very recently through my own meditations and prayer and work in the world, is this idea of helping people see that just like the birds and the rivers and the trees, we are naturally occurring things that, by the way, do not knit together perfectly in the womb. We're lopsided, right?
Right.
And when we embrace the imperfection of our natural state, it gets us closer to spirit and to source. And I just think it's really lovely.
It is.
Well, since we're just diving on in then, what are you holding space for right now?
Oh, that's that's like she did just dive in there, y'all. Oh, gosh, so many things. I think so. Let me just see if I can get them to come into order here. One of the big things, since you talked about the reconciliation work you're doing, I'm not doing that work out in the world like you are doing, but I'm holding a big space for allies to understand, for the allies who are not necessarily people of color, white people, to understand how important their allyship is and to not abandon it. How do I say this? To not abandon it when one feels a sense of their ego needs them to abandon it in order to have and be and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece for me. And the other, there's a couple other. One is, I'm really wanting, not just wanting, a true rooted desire into bringing people back into their own nature, but that can only happen. In a place of absolute surrender into this natural world, because everything else just isn't true. And the last piece is I'm for me, I'm really wanting to write this book on Black mystics, and then hoping to get to red mystics, but where I am elucidating for people, because I am a namer. I do naming, and to elucidate for people, these aren't just our heroes. These are, John Lewis, Audre Lorde, Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou, all these people, Toni Morrison. They're not writers. They are writers. They are our heroes. But what you're missing, because Catholicism has a lockdown on naming who mystics are, yeah. and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
That their work was holy and divine. And it needs to be seen and continue to be experienced in that way. That they are a prayer.
Talk to us more about Black mysticism, because some of my favorite mystics, like Angelica Terabati, she was this Italian mystic who talked about the patriarchy when she was forced into a nunnery because her parents didn't want to pay her dowry in Italy. And we hear so often about all these white mystics, right? Because like you're saying, the church has a hold on the white ones. Tell me more about Black mysticism.
Oh, well, I don't, so that's, okay, so let's, I'm not sure what you mean by mysticism, because I'm not, well, let me just say, I'm not a vortex of information on mysticism. All I can tell you is that when I sit with these people, when I sit with their energies, when I ask them to speak to me, take me into you, press yourself into me. I'm gonna cry. What I know is that what I experience is that they are not someone to be put on a shelf. The Mother Teresa's of the world. They're not someone for us to adorn and just pray to and say, I can't be like that. What they're trying to show us, even the traditional ones, that the Saint Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross and those people. None of that is about putting someone up there and just studying them or even trying to be like them. What they're trying to show us is you are this. Yes. You are this divine. You are this connected. You are at this level of operation, of exposure, of opportunity. But you have to be humble, and you've got to get out of the dominant mind. You've got to let go of the overculture's training that is around and around and through you in every single moment, working to oppress you and separate you from your own holy and sacred nature. I don't know that I can talk about Black mysticism, but I can say this in the book, that when I sit down with, Toni Morrison and James Baldwin, who I just love. I wish I had met him in person. I'm so glad I'm meeting him now. When I sit down with them and watch them communicate and talk to each other over coffee and sherry, I'm in the cafe, I'm in the living room, watching them. They are fierce. They are dangerous. They are lighting fires. They are burning it down. And they want us to grab a torch and burn it down with them. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it's
you are. You definitely are. And here's one of the things that you're bringing that's really coming up for me is this idea of when we admit that we are divine and we are connected, and when we listen to mystics from across the board, Dolores Huerta comes into mind, right? Like when we think about mystics and mysticism, it's about engaging in love. Like you talked about surrender earlier, this idea of if we are this divine and this connected, then we are love and we are loved. And when we surrender to that knowledge, that's really the conversations that I've been having with this series. Like when we surrender to the idea that that is truth, then we can engage with love.
And everything, simplifies because the road gets narrow. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by narrow is it gets specific.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing up Dolores Huerta, because she does not get enough attention. I had the beautiful opportunity of just being one of the many people in the background of her work here in the Mission District, and supporting the UFW. I always get it wrong. UFW? I forget. United Farm Workers. UFW. Yeah. Back in the day. So thank you for bringing her in. But you're absolutely. And I want to just say, and I know not to you because I know you know this, but just so people hear it from me. Love doesn't look sitting like on a lotus cushion all day long.
No, it sure as shit doesn't. It sure say it.
It just doesn't.
No.
It does not. It's that can be a part of it, but if you're not willing to get the torch, if you're not willing to say no, not this, if you're not willing to stand in front of someone who's about to be slaughtered and put your hands out, if you don't say, I don't care about my fear, I will speak up, I will be accountable. If you're not willing to do that, then you're not actually partaking really, really of love, because love it's direct, it's specific, but it ain't easy.
Yes, absolutely. And it is messy. Like it is not hearts and flowers. It is, and in fact, so I want to ask you this question specifically. So how can people be engaged or be changed by engaging with love?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I'm just going to sit here for a second. Well, first of all, how can people be engaged with love?
How can people be changed by engaging?
Changed. Oh, wow. That's a vast, you just asked me to explain the ocean, it's innumerable, really. But here's what I want you to know. It takes the soft and suppleness of love with the firm vow of love. And it opens up the infinite possibilities of your capacities and your abilities to do and to have impact and to shift and to not just evolve, not just change, but to evolve yourself and everything you come in contact with. And I know you've experienced this, Melissa. I know you've been out in public. I know anybody who walks this path has had this experience. And people who are watching this now, I know you've had this experience where you're out in the world and you are so fully just connected, supported by the divine and holy love, all that there is, that people come up to you and go, who are you? Mm-hmm. I know you've had that experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who are you?
Yeah.
You're like, or they'll come up and say, you're a healer, or they'll name you, and then they'll just vanish.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is not for an egoic, kind of patting of the head. No. This is a recognition. Mm-hmm. And so, when we're in this, when we let love take us rather than trying to design and contort love, when we let love take us, it shows us worlds and multiverses beyond ourselves that I can't verbalize.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that sometimes life comes in and we let life usurp love because we think they're different. And we move away from love because we're caught in the pandemic of life. And I don't mean the COVID, I mean our own pandemic of everyday life. And that's okay. Just remember to come back. And if you need, someone to come get you, then have your lifelines ready. Have your folks ready.
Yeah. What I love about that is that we all have this capacity to fall into that multiverse, right? Like,
right.
We fall in and it takes us to such beautiful places. And then we've been trained to go, well, that's wackadoodle. Like, I can't, what the heck? And then we run screaming from it. And then it just keeps tugging us back. And then we're like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. Because you can't compute it.
No, you can't.
Our soul can compute it, but our brain can't compute it. And so, that's what I think that's what might potentially stop people from continuing down that surrender.
Well, it's going to scare the holy out of your ego. That's for sure.
Yeah, it scares your brain.
Yeah, and your ego is going to go, and you got, I can't. And all of a sudden, then what happens? Then people think love looks like perfection and being nice and doing everything and being, super spiritual. That's not it either.
No, love is anger.
It's all of it. It's a soup.
It's a soup. Yes, I love that. So here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
What if we all listen to our Mother Earth? And this question comes because I was actually preaching a sermon. I got the water and the wine sermon. I was so thrilled. I'm like, alchemy, Jesus doing alchemy.
Yeah.
But what we all miss in that, because of course that gets repeated, Jesus turning water into wine, like that's a thing that people talk about when they talk about Christianity. But what we miss in that part of the sermon that I caught was his mother is like, come on, buddy, like you can do it. Show them what you're made of. And I envision that as the divine mother. I love Mary. She's like one of my favorites. But like the divine mother going, hey, you can do it.
Yeah.
So the question really comes from, what if we all listen to the Mother Earth? What if we listen to her say, come on, y'all, you can do it? What do you think would happen?
I think our literal DNA would be heightened and reorganized to be in accordance. I've had telling you, I've had a really hard couple of weeks, and I realized I was still I actually broke out in hives. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Okay, what's the hive trying to tell you? I'm like, what's the last time you've actually been out in the woods, Melanie? I just kind of dealt with this on my own. I kind of, you forget because you get caught up in it.
Yeah.
And then the hives go, you know what? Go out and talk to mama. Mama wants to have a sit down with you. Mm-hmm. So you know what? I went up and I sat down in the woods and I just listened. And then everything, I'm not saying everything's fine, but everything got put back into place.
Yeah.
So
I tell my clients that all the time. I'm like, go touch a tree. Just put a hand on it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all.
Yeah.
Just sit and marvel at the birds and listen, because the thing about Mother Earth, and this, we all know this, that they are singing a song to us all day long, all night long. They are speaking beauty, truth, and love into our spirit. We just got to tune ourselves in and get into the station of it. The song is being streamed, the truth is being streamed, the love is being streamed. And this is what I'm saying around, it's like we gotta reorganize ourselves, because when we're in tune with Mother Earth, when we're in tune with the elements, love is inescapable.
Yeah.
Love is all that there's going to be.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself of that,
We all do. Yeah. We all do.
I start to believe the circumstances of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm lost.
Mm-hmm. I love that, speaking beauty, truth, and love into our spirit. I have an owl who comes and visits me every night. Well, not every night, but often. And of course I'm like, what the hell is the owl doing here? Like, that's death in some spaces. Like, what is going on? And it's transformation, because death is just transformation. And so I'm like, okay, so what's the transformation? And I can always tell if I've had a particularly disconnected day, because that owl is right out. Literally, I live in a city, like right outside my window.
We have one here too. And sometimes there's two of them. And
we have two. Yeah.
Do you? And I hear it go, hoo-hoo. And I'm like, me. Hoo-hoo, me. Hoo. Like, go ahead, talk to me. I'm like, yeah, me. Hoo-hoo, me.
Yeah.
I always talk back to it. I love hearing that little hoo-hoo.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't love that I hear it at 3 a.m. and then I'm like, oh crap, what's going to happen in my dreams?
Let me just say something about that. Years ago, our chief, Joe chasing his horse, he was talking to us at the Sundance. And he said, if you wake up, or if you're woken up between the hours of 2 and 5, spirits want to talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
You need to sit up.
It's the witching hour. It's what we call the witching hour.
The witching hour. Sit up and take note and be present for your ancestors and elders.
Yeah, so, my coach Leah, she actually said to me this week, she's like, isn't it interesting that it has to come in the middle of the night when your brain's turned off? And I'm like, funny, I guess.
She's still mad, y'all, because her sleep's interrupted.
Mm-hmm. Just saying. I just have learned to surrender to it. I'm like, apparently I'm waking up today. Another question that I've been asking everybody as a part of this series is, what is the pain that grew you the most and allowed you to expand?
Okay, I just want everybody to know she didn't actually cue me into any of these. So I'm like, so I think there are two and they're combined. Mm-hmm. And it was my father dying when I was 9. And back then, children weren't allowed in the hospital. You couldn't go see your parent when they were dying. I wasn't actually even told he was dying. He just wasn't, I was sent to someone's home, and then I come home. And so my father dying, and then of course my mother died in that sense. She kind of went away, overwhelmed, just moved to 3 children, just bought a house, and her man dies, and back then he was a sole provider. That, and realizing I was not safe in America, that anything could happen to me because of what I looked like. Yeah. And those were converging, at this pretty much at the same time. Wasn't safe because my father, my protector, wasn't there. My mother wasn't there. And also, no relatives anywhere near us, but also now here I am, in a place where, people are making death threats and calling the house and trying to hose me down on the way to school. And I'm not physically safe. Yeah. And I still feel that, to be honest. I still feel that fear of not being safe.
Of course. Yeah. I think that it is, what is so profound about what you just said is that your mother died. Mm-hmm. That happened with my mom.
Yeah.
My dad died.
When your dad. Yep.
And it was the same thing. She and I actually have just recently talked about it, because I think that pain of grieving as children and grieving through the lens of our parent that's left, it creates a completely dissonant grief cycle.
Totally.
Because while we are so connected to spirit when we're little like that, so we know how to grieve, we end up grieving through the lens of the parent that's left.
Yeah.
And then you end up in a constant fear cycle and grief cycle because of who you are and your lack of safety in the world. And this actually came up on Wednesday when I was talking, when we were wrapping up this Truth and Reconciliation racial justice series, was someone said that they realized through these conversations we'd had over Lent that racism really is still happening. And they could not comprehend that people still, like it almost clicked for them all of a sudden that we're still engaging in the doctrine of discovery, basically. And, all of these things, even though she's very aware of her own, she's doing the work of addressing her own whiteness, it totally blew her mind that a woman like you would still feel unsafe on the street. She could not comprehend it.
I don't know if it was the beginning of this year, but one of my friends, her name is Freedom. Do you not love that?
I do.
And she's deep. Anyway, Freedom and I were talking, and I could hear the tears. And she goes, maybe this is the year that I could become free. And I think each person of color in some part of their being just says that every year, every year. And I think I'm just going to put this out there to my white allies. It's really imperative that you do the work, absolutely, and you are. And then when you get feedback from a person of color, you don't get high and mighty about it. You get low and humble.
Yep.
Nobody's interested in disgracing you or making you feel bad. That's your ego. I get it. You're not going to get this right. We don't even have it. And it's like, it's going to be continuous learning, continue for the rest of your life. If you let it. And when we say, please don't use dark skin emojis because it doesn't represent you. Please don't call Martin Luther King Martin because he ain't that to you. He's not that to me. When we give you feedback, we're giving it to you because we believe you're open to receiving it. Please don't make it about being offended. We're coming from love, and we're coming also from a place of desperation. Like, we need you. I need you. I'll do the work without you. But if you stand up, then I'm going to say I need you, and I'm going to couple up with you. But then you got to trust me to give you feedback. Mm-hmm. And it's not insult. There's no injury I'm trying to create.
I love that, because I feel like that really leads into this idea that this whole series came from talking about how we dehumanize people to justify shitty behavior. So, we're having this conversation, me and Cara and Jillian, and we're having this conversation about the role that dehumanization plays in healing, right? And we in particular started the conversation because of the homeless issue here in Oregon. Is just, I know it's out of control everywhere. I worked in homeless advocacy for years in Utah, and I've never seen anything like this. Like,
it's also, it's huge over here.
Pandemics. Yes.
It's like, it's everywhere. My heart just breaks. And we're going to have to talk off camera, because I want to know what I can do to support, because it's not right. It's not fair.
No, but I think what you're talking about with this feedback piece, I actually think is tied into this idea of the dehumanization of other people to justify our shitty behavior and our opinions of people, like to still have this very subtle mentality of just get it together, pull up your bootstraps, go get a job. Right? That
has ever been true in America.
Right. Which it hasn't. That's such a myth. There's a great NPR, I don't remember what the podcast is, but they talked about the pull up your bootstraps. mythology. It's so good, but I can't remember what it's called. But anyway.
Okay. I'll look it up.
I love what you said about get low and humble.
Yeah.
Like that is true courage and I'm curious what you think about the role that dehumanization plays in the work of healing.
Well, tell me what you mean by dehumanization.
So I think we dehumanize people to justify our own privilege, right? And then we talk about healing the community, and you can't do both, right? Like you can't. And so I'm wondering if I just love what you said about get low and humble when you get feedback. And I'm wondering how those things all tie, how you can see all those things tying in together to this idea of surrendering to love. I mean, I know it's a big question, but I'm curious.
No, it is. It's a good question. You know, I'm honored to be asked it because it's going to make me go places I hadn't considered. You know, and again, in the last couple of weeks, I've really experienced this, that, you know, I tried to have a conversation with someone who counts herself as a huge white ally, and how she just took that car and ran over me backwards and forwards because it was too real. It just, like, there was no fake place for this person to be, and she wasn't willing to get real. And so she just cut me into pieces. And then one of her allies did the same to me, who was a friend of mine. So, you know, this thing is like, here's the thing. When we're doing our work, whatever our work is, for the white people who are allies to people of color, that's your work. For people of color, it's a different work. When we're doing our work, we are going to be called up to task. We are going to be pressed against the wall. That's the nature of growth. That's the nature of evolution. You know, the roots are going to get stronger, but the limbs are going to get tested. And so, you know, you're going to be pushed up. And then this is really the divine creator mother saying to us, here's the next entry. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
That's all. Here's the next door. We have prepared you to enter. Will you humbly open this door? Because none of the doors are faceted in gold. It's not like that. It's ugly swamp shit until it isn't. And it's like, so you got to get humble. And then even when you mess it up, because we're all going to F it up. Say you threw somebody on the bus and you ripped them a new one because your ego couldn't manage what you were hearing, seeing, and being confronted with. That happens. But hopefully at some point, you'll revisit that and you'll stop defending yourselves and will listen and go, oh man, okay, I did that. Let me go back. Let me go back and do what I can to make amends. I can't make it right, but I can tell them I see myself now. And that's the real hard work.
Yes.
It's to crawl back and go, you know what I did? I will never do that again. I am so sorry I did that to you. You deserved better. I should have showed up for you. I should have whatever, and I didn't, and I'll never do it again. I can't say I'm sorry enough that I can't undo it. But I have learned, and I'm sorry I learned at your expense. But we're all learning at each other's expense.
I love that. I'm sorry I learned at your expense. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
We're all learning at each other's expense. We'll all betray, and we'll all be betrayed, because unfortunately, for now, that's how we're learning to evolve. That's how we're learning to grow.
I think that is so beautiful in so many ways, because one of the things that I was just talking to my clients about, like, I love that Megan Watterson, who wrote Mary Field, I love how Megan talks about that the body is the vessel for the soul, right? Like the soul's here going, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? Oh my God, we're on this great adventure. What are we going to do today? And like creators, like, here, let me open this door for you to see if you're going to walk in. And I was just talking with several of my clients this last week, because I was saying to them that I had also been reading about the knowledge that the phoenix has to burn herself down to rise again. No one's setting the phoenix on fire. We have to set ourselves on fire. And I have a phoenix tattooed on my back, so it's highly relevant. Like, we have to burn ourselves down to rise up again. And if we are willing to acknowledge our spiritual connection to the divine, whether we call it God or universe or spirit, then
when we call it chocolate,
then when we are called to task, then we can light ourselves on fire and rise up again over and over, because the soul's just like, hey, what's next? Hey, what's next? Hey, what's next? And if we allow ourselves to get out of that brain space and into this connectedness, that we are all, it's a practice. Life is literally a practice.
That right there, it is a practice. I gotta tell you, your timing's kind of impeccable, because
No
Steph Lagana, our friend, right?
Yeah.
She just pulled, I said, pull a card for me, because I don't know what's going. Phoenix.
Shut your mouth. That's amazing.
Phoenix. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Light it up.
And you just got that whole synchronicity.
Light it up. Here it is. And I'm like, okay, it's got to burn down every single time. It has to. Yeah. It has to burn down, because it has to just go right into Mother Earth, get renewed. And then
we have to be willing to do it to ourselves.
That's the hard part. It can be anyway. How do you initiate that? How do you initiate that fire?
For me, it really goes to, for me, I have acknowledged that I love God. And as someone who did not believe in God, like God, until about 4 or 5 years ago, I spirit, creator, whatever the hell, but like God, that word was so weighted for me for so many reasons. And I actually just a couple weeks ago was in North Carolina, literally at the top of like one of the most sacred mountains in North Carolina, Whiteside Mountain, for a retreat that I gifted to myself, working with this coach. And Susie looked at me, Melanie, and she was like, can't you just say God? And I'm like, can I? She's like, maybe that's one of your reasons you're here, is to help us heal the baggage that comes with that word. And I'm like, okay.
This is a profound teaching. I know, this is a profound teaching, because there is so much stuff on that word, and we did it. Yeah. We did that. Yeah. We human beings did that. Religion did that. Yeah. Man did that. Patriarchy did that. We did that. Not God. So whatever shizzle y'all got with God, that is made up stuff. Yeah. I love that you reclaimed the word, that you took it back.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And that's how I burned myself down most recently. But I do it all the time. It's become a practice of mine. Like, oh, I'm getting all up in my head. I'm like the torch.
I'm so glad you're there, because I too, I love the word God. I use the word creator because of the indigenous practice.
The word creator, yeah.
But and divine as well. But absolutely, to say the word God,
yeah,
and to let it be free from all attachments, and let it speak to me, so it can define itself to me instead of me defining itself to anything or anyone. It's just, that's just beauty.
It really is. I love it. I have one final question for you.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. If you could, I know you can't really, but here it is. If you could distill it down into one idea, what do you think happens when we deny our spiritual connection to the divine?
Okay, I need a second.
Yep.
Nothing good. Everything becomes trial and tribulation. Everything is up to you then. You, the human being, not the soul, not the spirit, not God. You, all by your effing self.
Ooh, that is lonely.
It is, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you will imprison yourself in the jail of the making of the negative ego. And you will be held there captive. And you won't even know it. Until you do.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Here's my surprise question I'm asking everybody no matter what. So I lied. It's not the last question. Here it is. Are you ready?
Mhm.
If you could have anything to eat right now in the whole world, what would you eat?
Oh, usually I would say chocolate, but oh, I would say actually lobster sounds good, or crab. I'm sorry, crab and lobster, but I do really do like you.
Yes.
But I think the most important thing, if I was being honest, just because I've had this time with you and I haven't had this time with you like that, I would love to be eating it with you.
Great, because I love lobster and crab. So we're just going to make that happen the next time I come to San Francisco.
Okay, I would love that.
Melanie, if people want to know more about you, can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Melanie Dewberry, Dew berry like a strawberry. And then my website, melaniedewberry.com. But engage with me on social media first. My website's interesting, but I'd really just like to meet you.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Hang tight for just a second. Everybody, thank you so much for being with me today. And for Melanie, because I love Melanie and I'm really excited about all this. And if you want to schedule a Misfit Magic Hour with me to get some clarity in your life and figure out what the hell is going on, you can do that through my Instagram account or on my website at naturalbornrebel.com. Thanks so much, Melanie.